Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Small Stages Big Sounds, the Uberrock podcast. Today, we're joined by another South Wales artist, Casey Maunder. I've seen him twice recently, and he fronts a very energetic band and has recently released a new single called Paint. So, with him making impressions everywhere, I thought it'd be nice to have a chat to get to know him a little bit better. So, thanks for joining us, Casey. How's life treating you at the moment?
Very good, all go. It's a pleasure to be here. New single out, new album on the way. Got some great live shows just done and some coming up in the new year. So, yeah, it's all going really well at the moment.
Okay, so let's have a quick dig into your background. Was there a moment or any particular artist that made you decide, you know what, I want to do that?
Yeah, there is. I think I told the story before that I was trying to learn guitar and I was listening to kind of pop music when I was 12 years old or whatever it might be. And my dad's a musician, and I remember he gave me a C90 cassette, and it had, on one side was Van Halen 1, and on the other side was Eat 'Em and Smile by David Lee Roth. And I listened to that, and that was kind of it. They talk about epiphany moments. I think that was it. And I listened to those and I just thought, right, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. So it was kind of David Lee Roth that kind of formed me and put me on the path, I suppose.
Okay, so having mentioned quite a large band, David Lee Roth, and your father being a musician as well, out of interest, where was your first gig as an artist?
Oh, do you know what? It was, and I can remember it was, I think I was probably 14 or 15, and I joined a band with some guys who were older than me. They were all kind of, I don't know, 19, 20. I fronted the band, and we gigged at a place called the Grand Hotel in Swansea, which used to host kind of live bands, and they used to have rock nights, etc. there. And yeah, there were lots and lots of people there. It was back in the heyday of kind of rock music. And that was the first gig I did. So it would have, I can't remember the year, but I was very young. Like I say, I was in bands with people much older than me. And yeah, I just wanted to get out there as soon as possible.
Okay, so having done that at a young age, when did you first get on the stages yourself with your own band?
Well, the Casey Maunder band came about. I mean, during COVID, I'd been in bands for years and different things. And with the old kind of hard copies, we'd done albums and cassettes and demos and whatever it might be, but they'd all kind of disappeared. They were on cassette or they were on CD. And I just thought then with the digital format, with the streaming, etc. We were locked in the house, myself and my girlfriend in the house, and I thought, you know what, I want to put something out there that's going to last, something that is going to be here long after I'm gone. So I had some songs in my kind of back catalogue, and I started writing other songs, and I went into the studio then with a great producer in my home city of Swansea called James Weaver, and I wrote the first album and played everything on there. I did it completely on my own with the producer. There were no other musicians involved. And we got the album out, and it kind of snowballed from there because I was initially looking to put it out myself, and then there was a record label in Wales at the time called Sound, a Welsh record label, and I met the guys from there in a pub in Swansea, and they said, "Look, we'd like to sign you up, and we'd like to put the album out for you." So that came out, and then yeah, I was offered live shows. The first live show we did was with a band called Hardline, who were a pretty big American band, and we did the Party Pavilion in Swansea, big crowd, and I had to put a band together for it. And I was lucky enough to have some close friends who were phenomenal musicians. And I said, "Listen, I've got the album out, but there's live work coming up. Would you come along for the journey with me?" And like I say, my friends, and they're still with me now, the same boys, and we're having a great time.
Okay, I noticed from the two shows that I've seen you play in the last 12 months that a lot of your music seems to have a very personal slant to it, sort of life experience slant. And I know most artists tend to write along those lines. Is it something you do definitively?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I kind of set out to do when I first start recording the album, but I can't really write about things legitimately that I haven't experienced. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I hear, I used to hear British bands, and when the LA kind of scene was going on, and you hear British bands talking about, the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles and things like that. And I just thought, how can I write with any credibility if I'm writing about things like that? So I'm always looking for inspiration around me, to be honest. I just don't think that there's a lot of credibility in writing about things that you don't experience yourself. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you can put any legitimacy on anything you say. So
Okay.
yeah, most of the songs are about what I see around me, what I've gone through myself, and yeah, that's where the inspiration comes from, really.
Okay. So you'd be writing about Sunset on the Mumbles Mile then?
I could write about the Mumbles Mile actually, because I had some good nights down there. So maybe that's something for the next album.
Okay. Now, I've seen you on two local venues, two small venues. Now, these venues tend to provide a lot of proximity to the artist, to the fans. Do you like it that way?
I love it. I mean, we've just done two shows with the Dogs Tomorrow, which obviously you were there, and it kind of as things are building momentum now, I can see people in the audience singing along with my songs. I absolutely love that. I love being involved and talking to individuals in the audience if I notice something about them. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the big gigs. We've done a couple of festivals and we've got some coming up next year where it's kind of a faceless sea of people. But yeah, I really enjoy the kind of small, sweaty, where I can, actually speak to people. And I think for me as a fan as well, I enjoy going to watch bands in a smaller venue, and I hope the way that I interact with the band, with the audience, kind of, I don't know, brings them into the show a little bit and shows them that I'm not this kind of aloof character who's not going to speak to anyone. So yeah, I do enjoy those shows. Yeah.
I mean, having said and so seen you last week in the local venue, you've got a definite personality on stage that comes across in between the music as well. So, that makes an audience warm to people. So I hope that comes across to you from the audience.
Yeah, I hope so. I think sometimes it's easy to come across as kind of cocky and arrogant on stage. I do put on a show, and I do try to be a little bit larger than life on stage, in terms of how I present myself. But I hope that in the interactions with the audiences, when they see me speak between songs, or even when people come and speak to me after the show, that they can see I'm not this guy that's trying to be apart from the audience or anything like that. I want the people who listen to the music to be able to message me on social media, or to be able to talk to me at the shows, and have a genuine chat with them. So I hope that does come across anyway, between the songs particularly.
Well, it does. And like I said, I haven't seen you twice. I can see the progression from the first show to the second show that I saw you at. So you can tell you've had more time to develop that art.
Yeah, it's I mean, we're constantly trying to improve in every aspect of performing, whether that's, how we put the songs together live as a band, or whether it's down to what I say between the songs is certainly something I work on. I mean, I look back now, kind of, I don't know, maybe it was 4 years ago, perhaps, when we first did the first Casey Maunder band show, and we played with Hardline, and I realised that between every song I was kind of saying the same thing, going, this song is about, this song is about, this song is about. So I've kind of, I don't know, I've looked at other artists that I like, and I respect, and whether that's big artists or whether it's smaller artists. And I think that I've certainly made an effort, like we do with every aspect of the show, to improve that, and maybe have that little interaction with people is part of improving the overall package.
I mean, there were a few tracks that stood out for me when I saw you last week.
Okay.
The one that always stood out for me from the first time I saw you was Click Me, Swipe Me, but you
Right.
left
Yeah.
till last.
Yeah.
A big tongue-in-cheek slap in the face for
Yeah.
social
It
media.
is.
And it's really catchy. It's got a really catchy hook, so I can see why you leave it till last. The other one, another kick in the for social media, was Crow on a Branch.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of Crow on the Branch. I don't write many angry songs, to be honest. I tend to keep things light, like Click Me, Swipe Me, as you say, is very kind of tongue in cheek. But Crow on the Branch, I mean, it's to be expected. You put yourself out there. I put myself on stage. I put myself on social media, talking and releasing the music. You're going to get some people that will have a go and have a pop. And I can't think who it was that said it, but they said something like, to paraphrase, social media made people more comfortable to say things because they've got no fear of a punch in the face. And I can't think who said that, but that was very much the case, that somebody decided to have a little bit of a pop at me online, and I got angry and I thought, "You think you are here?" And then I thought, do you know what? And I think that it was from an interview I saw with the boxer Alexander Usyk, and he was talking about people having a go at him, and he said something about and he said something, and they'd only ever go at him from on the internet, I suppose. They wouldn't ever go at him in person. But he said something about they're just birds tweeting up in the trees. He said that, they're nothing. And I just thought, yeah, do you know what it was? That's what it is. So it was almost a little bit cathartic, really, that I was able to, you know, rather than get myself into bother and track the guy down, I was able to put it out in a song and it's still a little bit tongue in cheek, I suppose, but that's where it came from. I don't know where Usyk got that from, if it's a famous saying or what, I don't know. But he said they're just birds in the trees tweeting at you. And I just thought, yeah, that's exactly what the internet is. People who are out of reach and they're able to shout whatever they want at you, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. It's like I was on another band social media the other day, and the singer said she's fed up people having a dig at her. And I said, well, look, opinions are like noses. Everybody's got one. Some you just want to punch, you know.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
you know.
But I think that social media and the internet it's made people comfortable with saying things that they perhaps they wouldn't say if they saw you in person,
Yeah.
and whether that's because they, like I say, they don't want that punch in the face, or whether it's just because it's very awkward to do that.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, that's definitely what the song's about, and it was a bit of a release for me to be able to write that and kind of give it back to somebody in a positive way and take a negative experience and turn it into a positive. Then,
And the other one that caught me was Sarah Can't See. Now
yeah,
that is really, emotive in terms of what the song is, in a very light song with a very deep meaning.
yeah, it's. I think that, I look around me. I'm from a very working class area of Swansea, and I still live in a working class area of Swansea, and I see people struggling. And I'm not going to get political and tell you what party I vote for or whose party I think is fault, etc. But you look around you, and I think through successive governments, really, people are not doing well, and people are, putting their shopping on credit card because they haven't got money to meet their bills. And I kind of took all of that I'd heard and different stories I'd heard about people around me and kind of personified that, put it into one person, called her Sarah, about just the daily struggles that people are going through just to put food on the table, to keep the house warm, you know. But yeah, perhaps the song, the actual melody of the song is quite light, whereas the lyrical content is perhaps a little.
I mean, do you write all the songs or do you do it as a band?
No, I write all the songs. I think that I made a conscious decision during COVID that I'd been in lots and lots of different bands, and as is the case in bands, it's full of compromise when you're writing music. And I decided, no, do you know what? I want to die on my hill, kind of thing, and just do it my way. And so I write all the songs and I record all the songs. Do my bass player, for instance, Matt, has just come in and recorded a couple of songs, just done the bass on there. My guitarist Jason will come in and do some of the rhythm stuff. But all the songs, yeah, mine. James, my producer, will give me some ideas and different things. But I write everything and play everything myself. When the songs are played live, I do give the boys, a little bit more license. My guitarist Jason, who's a very good friend of mine, is a phenomenal guitar player, much better guitar player than I am. So I do the guitar solos on the records, but when it comes to live, I just say, listen, cut loose. You don't have to copy my solos. You do what you've got to do, and I think that then it lifts the songs live a little bit. But it's very much, yeah. I write all the songs, yeah.
It's a tough time for artists that are, well, A, starting out or have been around for a while. And there are a lot of bands that are deciding, enough's enough, I've got to earn money. What's the biggest challenge you see at the moment for an up and coming artist?
I think that the biggest challenge, I think, is kind of opportunities come along, but they don't come with financial reward. Well, I won't go into, I'm not going to name specifics. There are festivals that we're being offered next year, myself, and the band, and we're doing lots of festivals next year. They're fantastic opportunities, but they don't come with the financial side of it. So, if we're going to do a festival in, I don't know, Manchester, for instance, then, you're funding the petrol, you're funding the hotel, etc., the travel expenses. You're really not making a lot from it. And I mean, that's the case with the recorded music as well. You've got bands, who are UK bands who are having top 10 albums. And they're still working. They've still got day jobs, and that just wouldn't have been the case back in the day. But the kind of download and streaming services and the platforms, there's no money coming from it. There's very little money coming from it. And again, I think that knocks the price up then of concert tickets, and, people are uncomfortable paying how much they've got to pay for concert tickets. But that's the only way that artists are making money. I can see it from both sides, because I still go to a lot of gigs and I still go and watch as a fan. But similarly, I'm involved in shows where people have said, "Oh, that's a little bit steep," and you're like, "I know, but you've got 2 or 3 bands playing. Something's got to give. That there has to be a charge for it just to make it viable."
Mm. So, is there anything particularly that's given you hope and wants you want to carry on doing this?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying every day doing it at the moment. And, I'm well aware that I'm not going to become a kind of multi-millionaire doing the music, because I think those days are almost gone unless you're at the very, very top level. Kind of your Ed Sheeran, Rihanna, Adele, kind of those kind of levels. It's just not happening. But for me, I always say to people that it's almost like if you're a golfer, and you're never going to be a professional golfer, you're never going to compete in the Ryder Cup or anything like that, but you're working on lowering your handicap all the time. And I'm not a golfer, so I'm speaking out of ignorance a little bit, but they work on improving all the time. And I mean, that's what I'm doing. Every album and every single that I've released has sold more than the last one. The shows that I'm doing, I'm lucky enough to have played with some bands that I absolutely love. I mean, the last show that I saw you at was with the Dogs D'Amour, and they're a band that I love. And it all gets a bit surreal for me that, geez, I'm in the dressing room here talking to Tyler from the Dogs D'Amour, or Mike Tramp from White Lion. I'm sharing a pint with him in sound check. So that's what makes me carry on, really, is just kind of, if the next record, if the next album sells more than the last one, then I feel I'm doing something right. If I get offered a show with with these bands that I really respect, or I get offered a festival, or a couple next year that we're really pleased with, that I'm doing, then I feel like I'm making progress then, and I enjoy making progress and moving forward then. And if that's slowly, or if it's very, very quickly, then so be it. But as long as we're moving forward all the time.
Okay. Everybody has their strange habits, quirks, or anything. Is this something you do pre-show, backstage, before you go on stage?
Not really, to be honest. And that's strange for me, because I'm the type of guy that will only have the TV or radio volume on an even number, and I got to put my left sock on before my right sock and things like that. But in terms of before we go on stage, no, there isn't anything really. I don't tend to do any kind of vocal warm-ups or anything like that. I don't know, tune my guitar, I suppose. I'll make sure that it's is roughly in tune, as in tune as Keith Richards has his guitar anyway. Um, but no, there's not a lot. And like I say, I'm very kind of ritualistic in the rest of my life. But before we go on stage, no, not really. I'm pretty relaxed. I'm always looking forward to it, and I'm always can't wait to get on. you know.
Okay. So, away from music, what helps you recharge?
What helps me recharge? Well, I love traveling. I go on several kind of holidays or visits a year. I love going to New York. I go there quite regularly. I love the Greek islands. We go over there. I love. Do you know what? This might be a little bit divisive if I say this because there could be people who don't like. But I love going to watch Swansea City as well. I'm a big Swansea City fan. I'm a season ticket holder, and I love going there as well. That relaxes me. Yeah, lots of things. And writing songs. Yeah, there's not a day goes by when I don't play my guitar. You'll see some people say, "Oh, I haven't picked up the guitar for ages." You know, sometimes I'll be falling asleep on the sofa, and I think, right, I'll go up to bed, and I think I haven't played my guitar today. Right, got to have 10 minutes here. And I might not. It's not kind of that I'm practicing scales or anything like that, but I have to have picked the guitar up every day. So yeah, lots of things: football, reading, traveling, but and writing songs and playing guitar. Yeah, I love.
Okay. Well, Casey, it's been brilliant having a chat to you. It's nice to get to know you a bit better. So, when we get to see you again, when's
Yeah,
the new music coming out?
the new music should be out, I think, January. I will say that the new album will be out in January. We're working really hard at the moment. Myself and James, my producer, are working on them at the moment. Probably got about 2 songs to go, and then kind of the mastering, etc. So I'd say that it'll be out in January. The next show is in November with a band called Ollie Brown and the Dead Collective.
Hmm?
And then in the new year, we've got lots coming up. Lots of we're doing In It Together Festival in South Wales. We're doing Hard Rock Hell in Great Yarmouth. We got a festival in Liverpool. Lots and lots of shows for the new year.
Good
But
man.
everything's kind of only one live show before Christmas because I'm working on the album. But the new album, which is called Smashdown Jericho, it will be out in January. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Well, if you have a finished version and you want a review, just
Yeah,
drop it my way and it'll go up on the Uberrock website.
I certainly will. I promise you as soon as it's finished.
Well, thanks again. It's been lovely talking to you,
And you.
and I shall see you again soon. All
I'll
the
see you out
best.
there. Ta